Thank you for being here and your interest. I'm Dagmar. I'm obviously not one of the Syrian journalists. I used to be a journalist. Now I work with the Syrian NGO, the Prisons Museum. I will do a quick introduction, also setting the historic stage, and then Amr, the museum's director, will show you and guide you through some of the 3D tours that they've been developed in the course of this work. So let me continue. There we go. Just a quick dip into the history. It all started with Amr personally, actually, for the search of his brother. In 2011, as you all might remember, the Syrian revolution started, and pretty soon it turned into a civil war. And the civil war was also, on top of everything, made harder through the occupation of ISIS in the middle of Syria and Iraq. That happened in the middle of the civil war from 2014 to 2017. And during this time, Amr and many of his journalistic colleagues had to flee the country because they had been incarcerated at the beginning of the revolution. And when ISIS left, his brother had disappeared, and to this very day has not been found again. And this started a process of looking for those that disappeared in the prisons. And prisons have a very specific role in the repressive regime of ISIS. And prisons are, under ISIS, not necessarily buildings that were built as prisons. Under ISIS, it could be a church, it could be a stadium, it could be a regular house. Because prisons were the idea with which to control the people and subjugate them under the Islamic State. So what did you do? You started documenting with cameras, 360-degree cameras soon, and high-resolution cameras, the traces of evidence that was left behind in these prisons in 2017. And over the next years, wrong direction. The ISIS Prison Museum idea as a virtual space to show what happened and to keep the memory alive started. And over those years of collecting evidence at the historic sites, the Prisons Museum found over 100 sites documented, over 500 interviews with former prisoners, given testimony to what happened at these sites, and they also found around 70,000 documents that ISIS has left behind as physical documents, but also on electronic devices. And with this cross-referencing of different sources, the reconstruction of what happened in these prisons, how these prisons looked like, to help and support accountability processes, trials, universal jurisdiction efforts to hold accountable ISIS fighters was possible. And the website itself was launched in 2024. Based on this methodology, you could look it up, but Amr will take my microphone now and will show a little bit of what this looks like when you take all this evidence that you found on location and turn it into a 3D reconstruction of, so to speak, a crime scene.
Thank you so much, Dagmar, and hi everyone. Here we are. Here we are, like watching Al-Ahdath prisons in Mosul, in the old Mosul city. This prison start like from Saddam Hussein time, start to be as a like a children prison, and then like the ISIS, when they take over the city, they start to use it as a specific prison against the political people against them. And here we when we really when we study some of the prisons, we have to study, this prison was as a prison for 46 days only, and after that the American bombed this prison, and half of the prisoners, they was killed in this building. And we have to really understand, for us as a team, a different level of the using of this prison, what that mean, why each, the using of each room. And here as an example, we can see the building, and we can see testimony from each time zone. I think the internet is really bad here. Yeah, like we can see different witnesses, and also we can see like a different time, like we rebuild the place after so many testimonies. Like here we make interview with more than 30 person to understand each part of the prison, and that's one of the so many different buildings we study and we try really to understand. And the idea for us, like why we build 3D tours to see these prisons, because me myself in 2011 I was in the Syrian regime prison because I'm a journalist, and I left, and I didn't know in this time if I will be really if I survive this or not, the first time and the second time. And then I start to write my name in the wall every new part of the prison. Maybe if they will kill me or something, somebody after that will see my name and the date and will tell my family about it. And when we enter these prisons, like we start to see thousands of names in the walls, and that was one of the main important evidence to understand where is those people, because like I was looking for my brother, and I was really looking in every wall to understand where he is. I didn't see his name, because also half of the prisons destroyed because of the bombing of the coalition against ISIS. We can also, when we build the 3D tours, we thought like part of our thinking as a team, it's the families, because we want really to. We thought I don't want sometimes hard information or like unclear information to be mixed, and that will be really so confusing for the families. And that's why we had really we give the possibility, like if you want to see names or with no names, the videos or with the audios or the information or the document. And yeah, that's how we start.
So the combination of different sources makes the reconstruction something that can actually be used as evidence, but also as the last sign sometimes of a loved one that disappeared in these prisons. And ISIS is particularly complicated. It was possible in Iraq, easier than in Syria, during the years that they were active, to go to these sites, but you can imagine it's very complicated to find them, because if they had been regular houses, who knows that they were prison people that lived there, and they had very little interest in talking about it. So you have to go into the places, you have to find people that were willing to talk to you, and eventually you come across people that had been arrested and incarcerated in these places that give you the testimony. I personally, as I'm not very familiar with the region, I'm newer to the project, we've been working for the last 8 months together, was very impressed by the 500 witness testimonies. There's dozens and dozens of them on the website, of the bravery of the individual prisoner who tells their story, and sometimes in graphic detail, but it gives them back a piece of agency to talk about this, and it helps the reconstruction and grounds it in personal testimony, in the documentation of ISIS, because it's documentation about the hierarchy of the organization, about responsibility for certain sites, about orders that were given at a particular site to do something. And then lastly, there is the rebuilding, the reconstruction of the houses that you can actually walk through to really make sure that you understand how it worked. So this methodology of going to the sites, of meticulously documenting it and everything that was left, including 3D pieces, has now extended with December 8th, 2024 to Syria. So for the last 6 months, this methodology of the Prisons Museum has been applied to Syria as well, which is accessible, and Amr has been able for the first time in well over a decade to return to Syria, and he's done so twice now for longer stints, to do something that's of utmost importance right now: preserve the sites of these prisons and preserve what was in them when they were left, because they're rapidly being destroyed, formed over, torn down, or reused. So that's one of the most important pressing things that has to be done right now: preserve the evidence of what was left and really build these sites. Do you want to? Oh, you have another of the. Yeah.
Thank you.
Go back to ISIS, right?
Yeah, like I just wanted to add something. Like in ISIS prisons, like one of the main hard things is to find if this building it's a prison or not, because like they do this like they make everything as a prisons, like the hospitals, the normal houses. Like when I returned to my city, Raqqa, in the north of Syria, I was asking myself if my family house like became as a prison or not, or like our neighbors or my school. I mean, my school was a prison, and and the church also in my area, and the hospital. Many things they do this like with everything, and that was the most hard things to really search and see what's prison and what's not. Here, like the most dangerous and bad prisons in Raqqa, it's a stadium, the Raqqa Stadium. They name it Point 11, and thousands of people they kill there because it's make it like as a specific prison to kill, like to bring people and kill them there. But like we didn't have the same problem when we wanted to work about the Syrian regime prisons, because with the Syrian regime, like it's a state and there is like a clear presence, and we know as a we know as a team where is each prison. We had a list for 162 prison around Syria, and we start like from the first day. We learned from ISIS experience that like everything's changed so quickly, because there is like who take ISIS area, it's like the Kurdish army from Iraq and the Iraqi army and the Syrian regime army in this time and the Free Syrian army, and each group start to make the same prisons as a prisons again. And we thought with the Syria and the Syrian regime prisons, something like that will happen again. And we decide to do so quickly. We send all our team, the cameraman and the researchers from Iraq, from different parts around the Middle East to Syria, to Damascus and different areas, to start documenting these prisons in a so quick time. Like in 2 months, we document most of the Syrian prisons as a 3D tours, and we collect more than 1 million documents. And the crazy things now, it's 6 months after, like 8 December, like of Al-Assad running away from the country. Now the new regime, they use most of the prisons as a prisons again. Like last week I was in Damascus, and I went to the old prison, where I was, and I was fighting like every day. What I do, I go to the door to this prison or the another prison and start to fight with them if we can enter or not, because we want to make testimony inside of the prisons. And that was really one of the most crazy and quick things to use these prisons. Like again, like we can see Saidnaya prison, it's one of the most famous Syrian prisons.
You can maybe pull up the Saidnaya, and I'm just going to say the Syria Prisons Museum is in preparation. The ISIS Prisons Museum website is live online. It's a virtual museum space also for the victims and for academia and for the world to not forget. That's why this is all online, and the Syria Prisons Museum will go online sometime later in the summer, around about September. So we started working on this, and Syria's numbers are staggering. I just put numbers in there, but they're really not reliable at all. There's a lot more missing people. There's a lot more people killed in these prisons. Of course, the documentation is not very accurate on all of that. So I think we have that's the type of stuff that we also do, or Amr is doing with his team in the field to bring the prisoners. This is Tatmor in Palmyra, bring them to the prisons and remember and go to the sites if they want to. It's up to them. It's very hard to do that with more recently released prisoners, but the staff is trained, so we've thought a lot about the trauma in the prison and how to work through that. And so often it's the person itself that wants to talk about the experience and wants to commit it to the camera and to as a record for the future generations to hear about this, so it won't be forgotten. In the case of ISIS, and certainly in the case of the Syria Prisons Museum. So this is the first model of Saidnaya, but you have an actual better one. We have the film, right? So you probably have heard of Saidnaya as one of the largest and most notorious of the prisons. It has a very classical architecture as a prison when you look from the outside, with the center and the wings. And so it looks a little bit like a spaceship, but it certainly wasn't. And if you have any questions, we should open the round for questions, just because I can imagine that. So maybe you can tell a little bit about how you came to this model, because it's very much the reality of what it looks like.
Like after the first days of liberating Saidnaya, there is thousands, or I don't know, maybe 100,000 person in this area of the prison. Most of them, they was waiting any answer for the missing people. That was really one of the most craziest moments for the Syrian people to be able to enter this prison. And we went there with all the another people, and we start to see if there is a secret place, secret part, but there is not. And then we start filming after a few days, making the 3D tour there. The sad things, really, people destroy this prison, and that was really one of the most crazy things happens. Now we can have tour in each part, each room, each details. We can know every name from these thousands of names in the walls in the prison. And also we had interview more than 50% inside of the prison in the different times, from the 80s, from the 90s, from the Syrian Revolution time. And also we start one of the most crazy things happens in Syria also. They destroy most of the evidence, millions of documents. They destroy them. We can see in the floor here, there is many papers, and sometimes there is names and information in these papers about the prisoners there, and really families dying to know anything about the missing person. And what we did also, we collect like so big amount of document from there. We save them. And we study how many numbers was in the prison, how they kill people. Like we also we had so many questions, and with the witnesses and with our team, we went every day to try to answer all these questions. How they kill people, from where they put the dead bodies, how they move them to the mass graves, which system. A lot of answers inside of these papers, but also there is so many unclear stuff, and it's really this is I mean, we have many different places Saidnaya in Syria, like this prison 215. We also working now there, and it's really each place there is thousands of people killed over all these years in this building.
We don't have that much time, but I want to open up to some question, maybe on the methodology or on the idea. Does anybody have a question?
Okay, I will start there. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for your input. It was really interesting. I've been working on the Brazilian dictatorship, working with survivors, for example, and I wanted to ask, how do you make sure that people who now share their stories and might think they are in danger or their relatives are in danger, do you take the stories then down, or is there any process of,
I mean, consent is the name of the game here. So you have at any moment in time the right to withdraw your consent to the interview and its publication. It's hard to gauge what that means, but until December, it was even more dangerous because the Syrian government was still in place. ISIS is very active, even though it's not necessarily in our view right now. So, we're trying to be as careful as possible, but the witnesses who give us the interviews feel tremendously empowered, because regardless of what happened, this is a statement and it's a record, and this record is out in the world. But if somebody, for some reason, and the family situation changes, we would take it down instantly. Anybody else? Yeah.
Thank you. Weird hearing myself.
It's better to take him out and then put him back in.
Thank you so much for your talk. I find all of this incredibly interesting. But one thing did remain unclear to me, and that is why ISIS, when gaining new territory, was using these random buildings as prisons and not just always taking over the pre-existing ones. And then I was wondering if you can maybe tell us a bit more about how people reacted to you guys asking for testimonies, how they reacted to the project and the research, and thank you.
Thank you so much for your question. It's really important question because ISIS was afraid of bombing from the coalition, and that start to be they start to hide, because the jailers, it's ISIS members, and there is many, we can say more than 50 prison they was bombed by the coalition in this 2-3 years, and that was so dangerous for them, and that's why they start to hide anywhere, in the hospitals, in the normal houses, everything. And the second part of the question, people it depends how the people really deal with like going to the prison and speak again. Most of them they feel it's really somehow healing, because to go as a free man again to the same building, it's really like it's something mean a lot and will change all like the rest of your life somehow. And but also it's so like with ISIS it's different sometimes, depends in each area, because ISIS active more in a different area and then the another area, and sometimes people really afraid to speak in this prison or the another prison. It's
And maybe to the first question, how do you subjugate a people that don't want to live in the caliphate, right? I mean, nobody in Syria or Iraq wanted to. So you integrate this repression in the neighborhood. So you never know where it's at. And the crimes under ISIS was wearing Nikes or lighting up a cigarette after 10 p.m. or wearing a beard that wasn't too short, right? That there was one part of the apparatus that would do that. So it's quite psychologically, it makes even sense that you just hide in plain sight and nobody ever knows where they are, and you really don't want to act up, and you basically subjugate to the system. Yeah. One last question maybe, or maybe not?
Yep.
I would be interested how the search for your brother will continue.
Like now, honestly, I went to most of the Syrian regime prisons because that's the dream, to know if my brother, if he didn't killed in the ISIS prisons, maybe they take him in the Syrian regime, and we, in these days, like in 8 December, like we as a family was looking in each prison to see in the faces, in the videos, if there is any information about him. And now we are continue like with the new information we have, like if there is really anything about him. And like also I think we will have to search in the mass graves in the next like years.
And a final thought, interestingly enough, there's quite a few ISIS documentation within the Syrian security organization's documentation. So there may be something even in there, but it has huge holes, right? So there's not a guarantee to ever find a trace. All right.
Well, Amma and Dagmar, thank you for your work and for the important talk.